The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster by, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Your chance to have your say on things relating to the Isle of Man. Call 66 13 68, text 166 177, same number for WhatsApp, and email studio@manxradio.com. So, how was your weekend? Hope it was good. I hope you did what you needed to do. Were you at the Grand Fondo? Perhaps you were at the Southern Show. Maybe you were just walking around the Isle of Man on the beaches and through the bays and the glens. What were you doing? Oh, just a quick word today. It's Monday, and you know it's our 60th anniversary. We may not have mentioned it lately. And after Mannin Line today, we're going back to 1985 for an edition of Mandate. Wow. Going to hear the thoughts of residents on the first pay and display car park in the Isle of Man. And also Jack Niverson, president of LegCo, talks about former governors of the Isle of Man. That's after Mannin Line finishes today. We're back, way back. What do you think about this? The news about this developer saying that the Isle of Man's planning laws are a bit of a state. This is Josh Church, project director for the Sulby Riverside plans, which would see 200 homes and a pub built in Ramsey. He says our plans are outdated, apparently. He says his team will be reluctant to work on the Isle of Man again if nothing changes. This is Josh Church.
I think that is the main risk, to be honest, because we've had a very hard time of it, and we all know developers are in sort of this business of planning, and planning is difficult, but the planning system is a bit of a state, really. The resources aren't there, and obviously across the UK and the Isle of Man there's a housing shortage, and that's not being met, and the planning system is not doing anything really to help that, and that sort of comes from the top. So obviously under changes that are coming, we would hope to see the planning system be made more streamlined, but at the moment we've invested a substantial amount of money. We bought land that is ripe for development and zoned for development, and all we faced is issues after issues and huge costs in appeasing, different departments, whereas we are good developers. We want to come and build something that's good for the island and bring good housing and bring some infrastructure in a place that's not going out into the greenbelt, and all we've been met with is issues, and so that does really make you think, is this really worth it? We just have to decide that at each stage that we go through, but we are quite heavily invested now and would like to just carry on with this and show that we are good-natured and want to do something good for the town of Ramsey.
There he was, project director for Sulby Riverside Limited, saying that our planning system is a bit of a state, according to him. Any thoughts? Text, email, call, WhatsApp. Wilf's with us today. Hi, Wilf.
Hi, I was going to come on about, because I heard on the news, and I heard the other day about this area plan business down in Peel. And there was a lady on who I know very well, but I'll not mention her name, and she's been from marinas forever. And anyway, to cut it short, the fellow at the end, the planning man, says, not even going to entertain this, not even going to look at it. So that's what I heard was said. So it's just been on the news. I think it's knocked on the head.
This is we're talking about the marina.
Yes, the marina, South Beach Ramsey.
Yeah.
And now they're talking to mixed use, whatever that is. We've already got mixed use. We don't want it alternate at all, except we can clean it. That's the best we can do. But anyway, this other thing now about Paul Dewey.
Yeah.
I eventually got round to going to the architects. The man who mattered wasn't there, but his mate was, and they showed me pictures, you see, of what they were supposed to be trying to do. And I looked at it and I thought, I've never seen anything so stupid in my life. They've got this bund roadway, this solid roadway going across to keep the water out. But now they've got a tunnel through the middle of it, as it's like it's across the side of it, with a door on. And when it rains, of course, it floods inside this as well as outside it, so it makes a lake. And then somebody's going to come along and let this water out. It's beyond me. I can't, because that thing has flooded all my life. I mean, they said it was once in 120 years or something. Well, my middle name must be Methuselah, because I've seen it a dozen times in my lifetime. It's just ridiculous. And of course, a lot of other people in Ramsey have seen it as well. It's just a no-go, I'm afraid. It's a dead duck.
What do you think about this project director saying that our planning system's a bit of a state?
Well, no, I think they're making a state of it. It wasn't in a state. They're making a state of it. They'll not be happy till they've buried the Isle of Man in concrete. And I'm afraid then nobody will want to come to live here anymore. They won't even want to come to holiday on it, because they're doing their best now. I mean, aren't they doing this big estate, 300 odd houses or something, down your way, I think.
In Ballasal. Well, yeah, that's half finished at the moment. Yeah, that goes on forever at the moment.
I mean, that's just, well, I don't know. It's a long time since I've been down that way. I keep away from the south if I can.
Well, you wouldn't recognise that part of Ballasala now.
Well, I didn't recognise it before because I didn't go down there very often, but I could get lost down there.
Yeah.
But,
so, Wilf, let's get back to South Beach. What would you like to see at South Beach?
I don't want anything done on the South Beach apart from it cleaned. Let me clean it. That's all I want to see. But the thing, you see, these people who wanted to do a marina there, they haven't a clue what they're talking about. They wanted to extend the South Pier as far out as the Queen's Pier and then come across with a wall. Now then, there's been enough damage done now with I'm getting ahead of it now. That's the reason we've got two piers the same length.
Yeah.
It's for the wind and the tide, and people can get it. It doesn't alter it. It's boats can get in and out in safety. If you extend one, which is the one I'm talking about, if you extend that twice as far, then you get the northeaster comes in. It hits that longer pier and runs up the harbour. God knows what damage it'll do. Now, what they did on the other pier at the moment, which is being done, that has caused, I don't know how many thousands, it's into millions, I don't know what it's caused, damage it's done, by putting all that rockery, making a kind of a boat park. They put all that rockery on the north pier at an angle tight up to the stone pier that's there. Now, the northeaster come in, ran along the pier, ran along the face of the rocks, and undermined the promenade. And I say, I don't know, was it $1 million or $2 million it cost to repair that? And it's doing it again. And when the beasts from the east come in, as they called it, we've got this this area of special, I call it, well, no, I won't mention what I call it. All that piece of roughness, grass and special plants and what have you, where they walk their dogs, that disappeared. Half of it disappeared in one tide with the beast. He didn't ask, you're not allowed to pull a flower or anything out of there, but the beast from the east didn't ask anybody, he just took it away, it's gone. Disappeared. You couldn't even see it on the beach, it just disappeared. And the reason it disappeared is because of this line of rocks, the angle it's on. It takes the sea and runs along the pier, runs along the rocks, hits the promenade, runs along the promenade, and tears away this area of special interest that we have. So, I mean, that's as much as I can say about it.
All right.
There's so much damage already been done at great expense in Ramsey. If they leave the sea paddle, that was another thing that was apparently said down Peel. If we don't have this marina, Ramsey will flood. I can't get that. The tide will come and go whether they have a marina or not. It won't make it go any higher or any lower. It's the same tide.
All right.
Crazy.
Well, good to hear from you. Thanks for that. Catch up soon.
Right.
Thanks for calling. Good to hear from you. It's 16 minutes past 12. I just need to tell you, by the way, that we got a boat in the harbour at the moment. We're supposed to have two today, but there's just one here at the moment. But there was chaos this morning on the cruise ship. Apparently somebody decided to reposition the Ben McCree at the same time the cruise ship was embarking. There was a delay of an hour to get for the visitors to get off. They apparently just waited on their ship. Everything was delayed, and nobody told somebody that they were coming in, and so somebody was moving the Ben McCree about, and it wasn't good to bring the little tenders in when the Ben was moving. But there we are, and it's Monday. Are the horse trams running today? David's with us now. Hi, David.
Well, I was up at Blackberry Lane earlier this morning, and all the horses were in the field enjoying the hay that was delivered, so they may be still there.
Oh, right.
Well, I wondered about planning. Planning is a big issue as far as we're concerned in the Isle of Man to everybody, no matter where you're going for planning or you're appealing a planning situation. I'm going to talk about the people who took Manx Telecom to challenge regarding having 9-metre poles outside their houses on a coastal area. Can you imagine the people from the ship saying, "What's all those poles doing up there?" You know. And I just wanted to put out there too that the government's funding the rollout of internet services and fibre optic and stuff like that. I just wonder whether are they now, Manx Telecom or the Manx people themselves, running out of money, so they're picking up the easiest options to just put a pole in and run cables all over the place on a coastal area.
I mean, what's your opinion of telegraph poles? Are they a bit 19th century? Do you think, I mean, is there any place for them at all?
Why do Manx, the MEA, as I call them, whatever they're called now, bury stuff in the ground? Two things is, it puts it in the ground usually forever and a day in a duct, and you can renew it. Whether you have cables, overhead cables, they're either subject to weather conditions, getting hit, and being off. So I just wonder why we're such a forthright island in communication, and we're doing stupid things. We've still got, on the back of Manx Radio there, haven't we, a couple of satellite dishes?
I think they are still knocking around on Carnane, yeah. And
we've got the Starlink, you know, the one that's Elon Musk has got. And I noticed where businesses now are putting a little flat panel up, about 6-7 inches by 12, and picking up a satellite, and not intrusive at all. And you can share these things, which makes me wonder. I heard the minister this morning saying they're altering planning. I'd wish you'd have a programme where they come on, not the ministers or the members of the department, some of the officers, to tell us what all those changes are going to be to even local authorities, never mind people who are making an application. Because I'm led to believe, and I've seen an email, but I can't share it at the minute, but it says that you don't have an automatic right, if you're a local authority now, to make an appeal. Now, why is that law changed? What's the reason for it? Have local authorities been abusing it? Or has something come up and it's been dragged up to the department?
The issue with planning, David, is always going to be, though, you know, one man's meat is another man's poison. You know, somebody may want something developed and another person is completely against it. So whose job is it to steer through? Is it the local authorities? Is it the department? Is it elected politicians? Is it the chair of the planning committee? Who decides?
It's down really to the local authority at the very beginning, and asking if you're putting a small development up, something like what we've wanted in the past, little things like a shed, a window put in, something very minor. Why can't the local authority actually do that and circulate it? I know in Onken, and I'm not speaking on behalf of Onken, by the way, just my individual views on it is, we make a decision, and we make that decision in public. so people can write in. The department actually sends letters out, and I'd like to find out whether all those letters to warn people, to Andy Wint, where you live, to say, believe it or not, there's a pole going to be growing in your garden outside your property. Do you have any concerns? And one of the issues that Max Tellock, I'm reading some of the stuff here, I can't believe. The reason for the appeal, we don't believe the poles are visually intrusive. Hey? Is that their opinion? What about the neighbours and people who live there?
What are they doing? Painting them in camouflage paint?
Well, I just wonder whether we can have different colours, make a rainbow, when it's not raining in the Isle of Man, and we can have different colours and look at them. But when they're 9 metres high, I can't understand where we're in a technology. We encourage companies to come to the Isle of Man because we're supposed to be self-sufficient in power. That's questionable at the minute. We need to do something about that. We also need to encourage those companies to say, we're doing something different than putting the old-fashioned thing, a pole in a field or a pole in a housing estate. We don't need to do that anymore. Okay. There is it's called micro ducting, where you can put stuff up. And like I say, even on the Starlink effort, because I've inquired, you can actually set up a community system, and everybody could pay into something like that.
Okay.
Which would be fairly cheap. I just wonder what people think. All right.
No, one more. What did you got?
Oh no, that was my other thing is to do with weeds, and we've only got about 3 days left before government has to tackle the weeds sitting on their own site.
It'll be interesting to see whether they issue proceedings against themselves.
Well, I did say to you the other day, who would instigate the proceedings? Is it individual ministers, the whole land? And the land in government ownership is not under one department. Some's in DEFA, some's in the DOI, some could be in the Home Affairs. So are we going to have a round-robin letter to say to all these people, especially you look at the roads, it's terrible. The biggest one is actually at the old prison site. In the corner, there's a massive clutch of cushing there, and it's ready to go to seed.
Okay.
And do we want it round in your gardens? Do you want it spread all over the place? Nature will take its course once it's ready.
All right. Thanks, David.
Hey, boy.
Good to hear from you. And Betty joins us now on Mannin Line. Hello, Betty.
Oh, hi, Andy. I just wanted to say that Wilf knows what he's talking about, and the local authority and the government should listen to him.
Do you go to South Beach in Ramsey, Betty?
I don't go very many places these days because I'm not driving anymore, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I just think Wilf is so sensible. He and Howard are the most sensible people who come on the radio.
All right, okay. We appreciate it. Thanks, Betty.
Okay, bye.
Good to hear from you. Peter said, am I right in hearing that Mr. Cannon and Mr. Johnson want a new Derby airport? I've not heard that. I don't know where you get that from, Peter. Let me know if there's anything behind that. If the developers lived in Tewkesbury in Tewkesbury in Gloucestershire, that is, where developers built a large housing estate near and on water meadows, they wouldn't be building on a floodplain in Sulby. The developers from the UK don't give anything, I'll call that, about the Manx people. They probably have only just learned where we're situated. What they want to do is make money, says Daphne. That is. I've been to Tewkesbury. It's where those two rivers meet, isn't it? The Avon and the Severn meet in Tewkesbury, and that's where they got lots of flooding. And they get garages sailing down the high street. There's been a cull on wallabies in the past 2 weeks. We wish to ask, what have the shooters been doing with the dead bodies? Really? Has there been a cull of wallabies? How do you know that, Crystal? Our nursery has been wiped out. We've only 3 left and one's been injured. They're all scared stiff, as long as they don't leave our large garden. Has there been a cull on wallabies, and what's been happening? Per the documentation through the door, Ørsted confirmed they're going to supply up to 100 megawatts of electricity to the Isle of Man through a connector, more renewable power than the Isle of Man currently uses. It's reported the MUA say no to this cable. Can we check this? Is this true that, well, Ørsted say that there's going to be another cable coming through, another interconnector? Family were coming over for a week. They looked to book the boat, Heysham to the Isle of Man, £465 return. A week later to Heysham, £595, £1,000 just for the boat. And they wonder why tourists aren't coming, says Graham. So they've gone to Greece for half the price for full board for a week. Yes, but they can't see the Laxey wheel in Greece, be honest. Talk about burying the Isle of Man in concrete is insane. Building of new houses is at its lowest level for decades. We desperately need more housing for both people to buy and for rentals. That project director was right, says Dave. Our planning system is a shambles, and the first thing that needs to be changed is giving everybody the ability to object to anything that's proposed with no real grounds, slowing the process down and driving developers away. Thanks for that. Also, a note in from, and this was it Margaret? Oh, hello, Margaret. Margaret from Onken, who just said, I was driving by Quarterbridge the other day and saw an advert stuck on a wall that says the Isle of Man Constabulary are recruiting. I was always taught at school that constabulary is a singular noun. Surely it should be the Isle of Man Constabulary is recruiting, not are recruiting. What does everybody else think, says Margaret. You weren't an English teacher, were you, Margaret? So is that true? I think I've seen that. The constabulary is recruiting at the moment. They've got some open days, haven't they, to find out what it's like working in the police. So should it be the Isle of Man Constabulary is recruiting, or at the moment they've got a sign that says the Isle of Man Constabulary are recruiting? Picky, eh? Howard's on now. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. Just you reminded me there when you talked about Mr. Cobb and his review and looking at the possibility of extending Derby Airfield.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. When the prison was built up there and various other bits and pieces, that place was virtually locked down then because... of course, the prison, that was the main scope. But Derby Airfield, the last time I remember that being used was in 1970 for commercial aircraft. I can say that with all authority because one of my many jobs in my lifetime, I worked for a coach company, WH Shimmons, on the promenade. And we were transferring people from Ronaldsway Aircraft by coach up to Derby because the weather was inclement at Ronaldsway. And I think that was the last time it was ever used for any commercial aircraft. They had the old, the Dakotas basically, and their 748s. But to open that up, the cost would be astronomical. So what are these people talking about? They've just had to purchase... Well, yes, the word have to. New fire appliances for Ronaldsway. And they're American and they're not cheap. And because, I said this once before, we are an island, instead of just having two, which give you the regulatory amount of fire cover, because of the aspect of being an island, they have to buy three because... If they don't, if they only go down to one, then the type of aircraft that would be able to land would be curtailed. So in other words, your likes of EasyJets and things like that would not be able to function. So if they're talking, nobody's given that. This is only some thing that just lifted out of the sand about Derby. But that is going to be, you're going to be talking 100 million. You've just built, or we have just built a terminal in Liverpool, which at the end of the day, when they start counting the figures up and all the bits and pieces, you talk 100 million, and that's only for one building, etc. What on earth is this government or the people at the airport talking about of extending Derby? if they got any problems, get Ronaldsway fixed. Fix with what you've got.
Yes.
Don't go and try build something else to make something else look better. So where the crazy ideas come in for this, I don't know. Crikey,
can you imagine? All right. Appreciate that, Howard. Thanks for calling. Oh, by the way, Howard, how was the weekend at the Camera Obscura?
Obliterated on Sunday morning, but very good on Sunday afternoon. And we had a lot of people who'd come over for the Southern show. One of the judges came up there, actually, and he spent a long time with us. And various other people from various parts of the UK who were on holiday here. So it's, it's very, very good. And as I said the other day, I've just printed it out. I've got the original from the Majesty's Stationery Office, the patent that the man who had that place built in 1891. I've got copies of that now at home here. And that gives his patent on the camera obscura, and he altered the whole aspect of the use of camera obscuras, well, basically throughout the world, just by that patent.
Okay, all right. Good to hear from you, Howard. Thanks for being with us today.
Bye now.
All right, 28 minutes before 1 on Manx Radio. That Camera Obscura is something else. If you've never, ever been in a Camera Obscura, and I suggest there are probably lots of people who are Manx who've never been in the Camera Obscura, it really is something else. Victorian high technology at its best, and it's here on the Isle of Man, and there aren't many of them in the world. Here's a message in from Bill, who said, "Is it true? I heard that the fire engines at the airport are made by Oshkosh. My granddaughter is dressed by Oshkosh. I don't think it's the same company. I know Oshkosh do make children's and infant clothing, but they also make heavy trucks as well. So I don't think it's the same. Well, I'm not sure. You never know, do you? Good progress is being made for first-time buyers, says Helen. But what about last-time buyers? How much thought's given to last-time buyers? There's very little affordable or appropriate flats or bungalows for older people. The days of families accommodating parents or grandparents have long gone. Most modern houses just aren't big enough to have what used to be called a granny annex. The elderly are becoming the new homeless. So what progress is being made for last-time buyers, the people who want to downsize? Nothing wrong with the poles. They've been there since I moved in. Just about everybody in our street are getting fibre this week, says Des. We don't need more houses, says Texter 068. Thank you, 068. The island's been covered in concrete. I've met the developer and can tell you firsthand he loves the Isle of Man and its culture. He lives and owns a house in Agnish and is free for a pint in most Laxley establishments. Very approachable, not a UK multi-scale developer that he's made out to be, says Eric. 5G is a health hazard, says 775. Who's liable for the damaging EMFs caused to humans and wildlife? Tell me more about this, 775, would you? So text, email, call and WhatsApp today. Have you got any thoughts on what you've heard today or anything else that's on your mind? Anything else that's on your mind, then by all means get in touch.
Imagine a future where the Isle of Man is powered by the very wind that shapes our shores. Ørsted are a global leader in renewable energy and are bringing more Mannin, the island's first offshore wind farm, to life. It's a chance for secure, renewable energy, new local jobs and a boost to our economy. But we need your voice. Public consultation is now open until Wednesday the 11th of September. Visit ørsted.im to explore our plans and share your feedback. Let's create a world that runs entirely on green energy.
From our castles to our cottages, our museums, and the Great Laxey Wheel, you'll find hidden treasures around every corner when you visit a Manx National Heritage Site. Fill your summer making treasured memories with Manx National Heritage. Sites now open every day. By visiting, you help protect our treasured island for generations to come. Plan your visit today at manxnationalheritage.im.
The extended Ramsey Garden Centre is deceptively large. You'll find a warm welcome and everything from bedding and perennials, fruit and vegetables to lighting, garden ornaments, bird baths, bird tables and indoor and outdoor pots. Come and browse at Ramsey Garden Centre.
Athol Garage in Ballasalla doesn't just service and repair any make or model of car. They also operate a recovery vehicle to rescue you and your vehicle from anywhere on the island.
See? Aren't you glad we went to Athol?
For top quality work from Nissan factory trained technicians, dedicated aftercare, and now recovery too. Athol, a garage to swear by, not swear at. Book now at athol.im or call the A-Team whenever you need them. 820082.
Radio Caroline North broadcast from the MV Caroline in Ramsey Bay from 1964 to 1968. And across the first weekend in August, Ramsey's back in the 60s with vintage vehicles and live 60s music. And on Saturday, the second and evening of the illustrated history of Caroline North and South with historians Andy Wint and Ray Clark, when the original Caroline Bell will be displayed. Tickets for the evening are £10, available at manxradio.com, and all proceeds go to support the Ross Revenge Dry Dog Appeal charity. The Caroline North weekend is August the 2nd to 4th with Radio Caroline Live at Home and Manx Radio. The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Thank you, Michael, who says, I was on the Mannin sailing to Liverpool last Saturday, and on the return from Liverpool, there were only a certain amount of people allowed to board via the gangway at the front. When it came to our turn, say about 20 people, we were given a guided tour back through the terminal, along the car area and through the car deck. Is it a case of, depending on the tides, that they can't load the passengers? Getting off wasn't a problem at all, says Mike, but that's just that situation. I wonder what is going on. And quite a lot of messages I didn't get to last Friday, with apologies, including one from 983 who said, how much of taxpayers' money has gone into King Gaming? Of course, King Gaming have had their gaming licence withdrawn. So that particular £70 million project appears at an end now. Thank you, Dodgy, on 544. Apparently the chipper isn't the problem at the Western Civic Amenity site. It's the contractor. The tanks there have been building up for years. These are the tanks, the big green tanks, the oil tanks that are building up at the Western Civic Amenity site. First of all, it was the chipper that they said wasn't working. Now, haven't they got anybody to use the chipper? Anyway, we'll see. We regularly stay in a hotel across, which is less than a quarter of a mile from 6 enormous wind turbines, says Rich. There are cattle grazing under them, a river flowing by them, and at night, no noise from 6 enormous wind turbines. No one moans as long as before the wind turbines, the national grid pylons were built, which hum all day and night and are an enormous blot on the landscape, but you get used to pylons. We should consider ourselves lucky we don't have pylons, but it would give us another thing to complain about, which we would, says Rich. Interesting point. Thank you, Rich. Good to hear from you. And another note in regarding wind farms. It's wrong to say that countries are pulling out of wind farms, says Alan. The UK Labour Party are embarking on a massive offshore wind farm expansion. The British seabed, owned by the Crown Estate, will be used to help build wind farms in plans aimed at making the UK more self-reliant for energy. It's the first big announcement from Great British Energy, the Labour government's new publicly owned energy company. The firm's aim is to increase renewable energy projects boosted by £8.3 billion in state funding paid for by a windfall tax on oil and gas giants. £8.3 billion. Wow. The government here, Graham says, the government say they want tourists to come here, yet my niece and her husband and children, just the return fare on the Isle of Man to the Isle of Man is £995. They can go abroad full board for half of that, says Graham. We can stop producing as much CO2 as we want, then a volcano somewhere will erupt and we're back to where we started. This is a pointless exercise, says 797. Nobody quite quantifies that, do they? When a volcano goes off on one, nobody counts how much noxious gas and carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and methane goes spewing into the air, not to say all that ash. I wonder if anybody's ever looked at that. If they put these, I'll say these darned contraptions around the coast, they'll destroy the Isle of Man's fishing industry, one of our main industries. It's an industry, Daphne. It's not a main industry, but we take the point because it is totemic, really. It's iconic on the Isle of Man. The turbines will disturb the fishing grounds due to the vibration. That would be a tragedy. But who cares about the fishermen, says Daphne. Thank you also to Nikki, who said, on the subject of vaping, I think it should be banned in cars with children. I parked in a car park last week and the car in front looked like it was on fire with the amount of smoke coming out of the windows. But what horrified me was the tiny baby asleep next to the person who was vaping. The poor baby was inhaling all those fumes. Absolutely disgusting. Do you have any thoughts on this? Nikki's thoughts are that vape should be banned in cars with children. Well, text, email, call and WhatsApp. Thank you, Bill. They said travel through the new Liverpool landing stage as a foot passenger. The passenger gangway wasn't working correctly. The alarms were going off and staff had a real hassle to get out to it with the level of the sea cat. They could only let people through 15 at a time. And each time they pass over it, the air bridge type thing let out a high-pitch alarm. It would go off and would need resetting. Well, there I was checking out the fittings. And to be honest, it's a bit of a rush job inside. Gaps under the skirting, flooring cut short, isn't £80 million worth. In fact, a bit of a shambles, says Bill. Thank you, Bill. Good to hear from you. And thanks also to Chris, who sent me all the details about Oshkosh, the people who make heavy vehicles, including, I think, can we confirm that our fire engines, our new fire engines at the airport are they Oshkosh?
Whatever your business, whatever its size, you can always rely on the island's leading fuel and oil supplier to keep you moving. Ellen Vannin Fuels, powering the island and powering industry. Call us on 844 000.
Have you visited Talbot & Sons' new home yet? After more than 30 years in Derby Square, we've moved to Snugborough Trading Estate with stunning new blind and curtain displays, inspiring ideas and the latest technology for your home, along with the same friendly family-run service and expertise you know and love. Visit talbots.im to find out more and come and see us soon.
NFU Mutual has supported the Isle of Man's agricultural shows for over 40 years. They're always great social events for the whole community and an excellent opportunity for us to meet you, our customers. So do come along and meet our friendly team at the NFU Mutual tent for a quote regarding your motor, home or business insurance. Look out for NFU Mutual at this year's agricultural show.
This weekend, come and enjoy the Ramsey Fest Big Weekend. There's something for everyone with Friday night 60s disco, then a day celebrating Radio Caroline's 60th anniversary, including live music and bouncy castles in the Morag Park from 2 p.m. on Saturday. On Sunday, the fun in the Morag continues with Masons in the Park Fun Day, including more live music and bouncy castles from 1 p.m. More details at What's on Ramsey on Facebook. Brought to you by Ramsey Town Commissioners Domestic Event Fund and supported by your nation station, Manx Radio.
There was an interesting flare-up in Tynwald over the appointment of 2 new directors to the government-owned Isle of Man Steam Packet Company. Some members were incensed by a particular line of questioning from Douglas Central MHK Chris Thomas, and he was asked to withdraw what were described as disparaging remarks. Is it possible to question candidates' suitability for certain roles in such a public forum? And if it isn't, then perhaps Tynwald's role in the process is merely to rubber stamp decisions taken behind closed doors. At 5:30 this evening on Manx Radio, Agenda considers whether legitimate debate was being stifled or were Chris Thomas's comments beyond the pale.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
It's 1:45 on Manx Radio. Planning is a joke on the Isle of Man. A greenfield plot at Rowney Golf Club, designated open space, had planning granted for 2 bungalows in 2015. Nothing has happened until 2019, where planning was amended to 6 4 to 5 bedroom houses. planning granted, even though over 20 objections from residents regarding sewers, wildlife and obstructive views, all poo-pooed away. 93 trees, says Paul, have been cut down to make way for this development, and only 16 set to be replanted. I think it's shocking. This is all speculative and for profit. I think it's pure greed, says Paul. Thank you, Paul. I think we can all agree, by the way, that when most people build a property, it is for profit. Nobody knowingly builds a property for a loss. But we take your point, and Eddie's on now. Hi, Eddie.
Hiya, you all right?
Very well, thanks, yeah.
Good weekend, yeah. All speculators are after profit, but 93 trees is nothing. We're going to lose millions here. But I was planning on coming on about Wednesday with something I've been asked to mention, but you've got planning in the topic today, which is slightly on the same subject, really. Just for instance, we were at the show on Saturday, the Isle of Man Astronomical Society. Can I give them a plug? Yeah.
By all means, yeah.
Yeah, they had their own stall, and they got second prize. Well done to them. Just round the corner was the Bat people, the Bat Society, and a few of my associates, friends who are into the wind farm thing, were asking questions about the bat kill from the wind turbines. So I eventually went round myself and had a natter with them. And I was saying about what is it that kills them, and it said it's not the actual blades and anything that kills them, but because they're very big, and the bigger they are, the worse this is. It creates like little vortexes and air pockets and that of very high pressure. And what that does is it collapses the lungs of them, because they're only small mammals, and it kills them that way. It just crushes the lungs type thing, collapses the lungs. So I then said to the bat people, you'll be definitely against the wind farms then, won't you? And the gentleman that was there stepped in straight away and said, we must not be seen to be either one way or another. So I said, well, I thought we had laws. We've got laws, and if you go to planning, there are laws. This is the relativity of all this. I mean, it's okay for this builder to say, we've got to alter the planning to do this, and all the laws in planning are there for a reason, to look after the environment, the people, the neighbours, and so on. It's exactly the same with wildlife and animals, birds, you name it, bats. There are laws, and that was the bit I was going to bring up. How on earth can anybody get planning if we've already got laws to say you can't kill a swan, you can't kill red kites because they're protected birds, hen harriers, protected birds, bats. You can get 6 months in prison for deliberately interfering with bats or killing bats.
Yeah, I mean, if you suddenly find a bat colony in your house or there's a collection of them, that's it. You can't do a thing. Bats are protected species.
That's right. You've got to notify the authorities straight away, and the environmental people will come and look at it and tell you what happens. But the laws are already there. What everybody is asking me is, why is it that this government are thinking that they can get planning to put these huge wind turbines up when we already know it kills hen harriers, hawks, migratory birds, mammals, bats, the heathland, all of these things, their laws are already there. You can't. If I all of a sudden wanted to put a bungalow further up from me on a little bit of the heathland, they'll say, no, you can't. That's a protected area. It's heathland. But all of a sudden, we're finding, I did suggest this a while back to you, that I think the government are interfering with planning over here in such a way that they can make it so confusing that all of a sudden when they put their planning in, they'll get it. They say, oh, we're giving it to everybody else. So, in my opinion, we have got to stop this government in their tracks, honestly. Everybody I see says it's the worst government ever. And they're just doing everything wrong. It's crazy. I mean, look at Liverpool. You mentioned Liverpool today. We were forced to go down from where we used to be to a part that nobody knows anything about, and it looks as though at the moment it's silting up all the time. So we paid £90 million, which you shouldn't have paid a penny for an area of Liverpool, which our boat, I think we're going to find this out in the short term, isn't the right place for it. And it's going to cost us a fortune to maybe have it dredged dead regular.
Cool.
I don't know.
Cool. Can you imagine?
Just a forecast. It's everything they do.
All right, Eddie. Thanks for calling today. We're good to hear from you. Thanks. I'm going to go to Vivian's with us now. Hello, Vivian.
Hello. You're talking about bats.
Yeah.
Now, in the Zaire, we upgraded our community hall. I'm going back a few years now. But they wanted to take the roof off, and there's a bat colony in the roof. And they had to wait, I don't know, several months before they were allowed to ever touch the roof. Because that is the rules and regulations. So how government can say they can do things is a load of rubbish.
So how long, and what happened? Did you get rid of the bats? Did they leave, or what happened?
No. Once they had stopped... whatever it was, they took it off at a certain time of the year and put it back on, and the bats are still there today. And they had to leave a vent there for them to fly in and out of.
Yeah, you can't get rid of a bat colony. You can't get rid of a habitat for bats, I know, certainly. So,
no.
Yeah, be interesting.
But I'm just saying, hearing that gentleman talk about government, I'm sorry, government can't get rid of them. There are too many rules and regulations.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. Thanks, Vivian. Appreciate it.
That's all right.
Good to hear from you. 7 minutes before 1. And apparently it is true. I mean, what kills bats is not them being kind of smitten by the blades or anything. It is the enormous change in pressure which collapses their little lungs, and that's it. They just implode and die. And it may be, when people say that you don't see hordes and hordes of birds or bats at the foot of these wind turbines, it may possibly be that predators know full well that these tiny creatures are getting thwacked by them and just wait at the bottom and pick up their lunch when it comes sailing down off the wind turbine. We don't know. But if you have any thoughts, and I saw the bat people at the Southern Show on Saturday, interesting people, and I didn't know that the fact is they're not allowed to have an opinion where this is concerned. 449 sent me a text in. Top man Wilf, just about the only person that comes on the show that speaks any sense. Well, thank you, 449. We need more Wilfs in the world. We'll start cloning Wilf. We should listen to people who've lived on the Isle of Man, like your first and second callers, Howard and Wilf, because they know things, says James in Castletown. Well, Wilf certainly knows his tides, that's one thing. An hour delay to move the Ben McCree. Didn't the steam packet say it took 12 hours to ready the ship before it could be moved an inch? Well, I think Francis, Frankie, Francesca, 762, they do have, I think there's a watch on board. I don't know whether there's a full crew, but certainly a watch on board. A message in from Mike, who said a few weeks ago we had the licence trade complaining that not enough's done for them, but I had the misfortune to go to Port Erin with some friends at the weekend to be greeted by, or lack of greeting, at a local public house that you have to dodge the potholes in the car park, sit on seating that's ripped and uncovered for the last 6 months, and rude bar staff. No wonder people no longer want to spend their money on such substandard establishments. Mike, I take it you'll be writing to the owners of that particular pub, yeah?
When the Mannin Line's not on air, call Manx Radio to leave your opinion for broadcast on 682 631.
That's it for Mannin Line today. We're going to be back tomorrow with an open line.
WINT
60 years.
years serving you as the nation's station. This is Manx Radio.
In 1985, there came to the island a motoring development that was, it turns out, the shape of things to come. It was the first ever pay and display car park. It was in the Villiers Yard in Douglas. David Collister went off to find what people thought of it.
Excellent, because quite often I just want to pop in for 10 minutes and saves me spending 30p. I've just spent 10p and I've done just what I wanted to do.
You've found plenty of spaces here, though.
There are, aren't there?
Doesn't seem to be terribly popular at the moment.
I don't know, is it Monday, do you think?
Yes.
Could be.
But you'll find it convenient.
Oh, very, very. I always find this park very convenient for the shops.
I think it's a good idea, but I don't like the idea of the £5 penalty at the end of it. We experienced this in York. We complained to the superintendent, and he, on the fact that we were visitors, he... You got away with it?
Yeah.
What do you think of the rates here? Are they okay? Yeah.
Yes, very good actually.
I think so.
I think they're fine really, because it seemed a lot. I often came down in the afternoon and be paying 25p for about 3/4 of an hour, which was a bit much.
The President of the Legislative Council, Mr. Jack Niverson, spoke to Charles Gard about some of the former governors of the Isle of Man, among them Sir Montague Butler, whom he described as one of the finest administrators that the Isle of Man ever had. And he also told us a personal anecdote concerning Sir Montague.
He was the father of Mr. Rab Butler, who introduced the 1944 Education Act. But during his time, he was a great administrator and followed the same pattern along. Unfortunately, he didn't stay his full term. He went off to take... to one of the universities. But he was a great man. He was known to dress as in country clothes, and he went around the country in tweeds and so forth, unrecognizable. In fact, he tells a great story himself when he had only been at Government House for just a fortnight, and he was dressed in his old tweeds and he was pottering in the garden. And a plumber come up the drive to do some work at Government House, and Monty tells the story marvellously himself, and this plumber, seeing this man in the tweed, said, "What sort of an old bugger have we got up here now?" Well, this was Monty's words, or rather it was the plumber's words, and Monty was given to reply, "Oh, I don't think he's too bad, I think you'll find him all right." And he certainly was. I think it was a great loss to the Isle of Man when he left.
Part of island life for 60 years. This is your Manx Radio.